I'm very excited for your next storyteller. Please join me in welcoming John McDonough, everybody.
I'm going to do a shameless plug, which is going to lead to the story of which Steve could be part of. This Thursday, I'm producing a show with my friend Al Gonzalez, retired cop from the South Bronx. And it's going to be from 7:30 to 9, and we've called it From the B.Q.E to the Q.E.D. And it's going to be working class stories. And it's going to be New Yorkers telling New York stories right here in New York City, just like Steve told. And people are telling me, what a great idea. I said, that's hardly a great idea of a New Yorker telling a New York story in New York City. So I'm just very grateful for the Q.E.D. for allowing this. We're going to have Reverend Billy is going to kick it off from the Lower East Side. He has a Church of the Earth on Avenue C. He's going to come in and bless it. He made my friend Malachi McCourt a saint there just a couple of months ago. Malachi McCourt's coming down. Strange guy. He's an atheist, thank God. And he's going to be coming down. And Reverend Billy's going to bless the place. And then after that, I'm going to have friends and people that I grew up with who were cops, firemen, construction workers, guys that are in the mob. Unlike some of the people today, they're all gig workers, like you were talking about. Everybody's a coder, IT and stuff like that. So we're going to give a different version of when I grew up here in Queens on that. And so that's going to be the gist of it. So from the B.Q.E to the Q.E.D, there's not many tickets left right now, but it's going to be the second Thursday of every month. And 7:30 to 9. So I hope to see some of you there, and hopefully maybe be part of it. We're going to also, we partnered up with the Fortune Society up in Harlem, which is a re-entry program for prisoners. So Casimir Torres is going to be our first reader next Thursday, who spent 16 years in prison. He grew up on the streets of Hell's Kitchen, one of 9, and then he got out of jail after 16 years. And then he went to the Fortune Society and turned his life around, so he's going to tell that story. So now I've been telling stories as a New York City cab driver for the last 40 years, the ultimate gig worker, independent contractor. And I was telling stories at my local bar on Lexington Avenue, Rocky Sullivan's, and we called it the Literary Lounge of Lexington Avenue. And a couple of us cabbies got down there and we just told stories. And then we had an open mic on Monday with Air America. And then Malachi McCourt made a call to the Irish Repertory Theater, and he says, listen, you could do something with this guy. So they took me under their wing, and they made an off-Broadway show called Off the Meter on the Record. And it ran for 3 months at the Irish Repertory Theater, great reviews. But there was a phenomenon. Every time I finished the play and I went outside, the audience members would come up, and they said, you ever think about doing The Moth? Now, I love The Moth. On every Saturday, 2 to 3 o'clock. To me, it's the pinnacle of storytelling. But I didn't have time because I was doing my off-Broadway play. So every night, it's the same thing. Did you ever think about doing The Moth? And I said, yeah, I would, but I can't do it right now. So my run ends, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. So I go down to the Bell House. Now, I didn't have any concept of how it worked, The Moth. And you have to fill out the paper and put it into a hat. You sit there. And what I noticed was just how horrible the stories were. I could not fucking believe it. And I was wondering, how did the Moth Radio Hour do a show with what I was looking at? And here was the general thread of almost every storyteller. Male, 25, hi. I live in my mother's basement in Brooklyn. I smoke weed, I drink beer, and I played video games. Then the girls would get up, 25. Hi, my boyfriend, he lives in his basement with his mother. He smokes weed, he drinks beer, and he plays video games. This was it. Now, I don't want to go old school on you, but when I was 18, I was drafted into the Army. My government sent me around the world to kill someone. I came back, got married, had 2 kids, got divorced. By the time I was 25, I was a raging alcoholic and a drug addict. I had stories to tell at that age. These guys didn't have it, these kids today. So I didn't know, but I didn't get picked that night. And not only that, I'm jinxed. I've been to the Bell House 5 times and I haven't got picked. So I come out of there and I said, you know what, I'm going to give it one last shot. So I went to Housing Works down in Soho, put my name in, and I got picked. So the story I tell, and it's a pretty famous story, that me and my best friend Seth Goldman, fellow hack, working out of Long Island City, Queens, the Amazing Race contacted us and wanted us to be part of the Amazing Race. They flew us out for 7 days. Pure madness. Now, if the story ended and we won the $1 million, it wouldn't be a story. Of course it ended in disaster because every great story ends in disaster. So I told the story, and these drunk judges put up their numbers or whatever they do, and I was winning throughout the night. So now the last storyteller gets up there and he starts talking about his dog and how his dog meant everything to him and he lived for his dog. And then the dog started getting sick and the dog's getting sicker and he goes, I took it to the vet, and I'm sitting there, I go, if this dog dies, I'm fucked. And of course, the fucking dog dies. Everyone's crying. All the things go up. I lose. So I come out of there and I go, you know what? The moths, I'm not cut out for the moth. It's just not me. So a couple of years later, my friend used to own Theater 80 on St. Mark's Place, and he was fighting eviction. So I did a weekend fundraiser, of which was of little help because he owed $12 million. So I did it, and the same thing was happening again. I would finish a show, I go out, the audience member, hey, you ever think about doing the moth? And I just said, enough with the moth already. So this one night I come out again, and this woman comes up to me, she goes, you ever think about doing the moth? I said, let me tell you about the fucking moth. Unless you're talking about a dying dog, you're not getting on. So she reaches into her pocket, and she hands me a business card. It says, The Moth. Artistic director, Kathleen Burns. Well, I turned into Ralph Cramden. Humna, 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 humna. I said, listen, Kathleen, I love The Moth. I listen to it every week. I'm so sorry what I just said to you. And she's standing next to Edgar Oliver, one of the most famous storytellers. And I'm looking at him, I go, oh my God. But I didn't recognize it until he opened his mouth because he's got that voice. So I'm doing an apology tour like you would not believe. I'm down on my knee. I said, I am so fucking sorry. I said, she goes, don't worry. I like what you're doing. I'm going to get you on The Moth. And true to her word, she had me on the main stage at the music hall in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, of which I didn't realize they pay you to go up and tell the story. So based on that, I was just thinking that I just didn't hear enough working class stories. So that's when I made the pitch here to Q.E.D. And next Thursday, I'm kicking it off for the year, where I got everybody that I know, because I've been doing a radio show on WBAI for the last 40 years, and I've met a ton of people who have great stories, and they're going to be coming every second Thursday here to the Q.E.D. And I think I can find a niche in the market like my fellow gig worker here. Thank you.